Okay, we're now recording. Okay, so I want to introduce to you our coach, functional fitness coach from Team RWB, Cindy Moore. She's an Army veteran. She is a certified strength and conditioning specialist and a CrossFit level 1 coach. She is a Team RWB fellow and the 2020 Functional Fitness Sports Ambassador. And so she'll be with you the whole journey. And then we also have Ben Bunn. He's an Army veteran, CrossFit Level 2 certified, USAW Level 1, CrossFit adaptive training has been completed. He's an 8-time CrossFit Opens competitor, and he's the owner and operator of Cigar City CrossFit in Tampa, Florida. So let's give them a great big round of applause for being here. Thank you so much. So we'll start off first. I'm going to start off with a question that's going to be for both Cindy and Ben. So what got you guys interested in starting functional fitness? How did you get started? We'll go with Cindy first.
All right, welcome everybody. Super happy you're here. So with functional fitness, I first started studying exercise science at Austin Peay State University in Tennessee. That kind of got me really into fitness. And then I started working as a fitness coordinator at the University Recreation Department. From there, my husband's military as well. So
when I started, your signal's interrupted, so maybe we can get over to Ben.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to. Can everybody hear me okay? Maybe give me a thumbs up. Very good. You know, I actually was a sedentary individual as a young adult and as a kid. I didn't really play organized sports, nor did I have a varied or extensive background in athletics of any variety. I wasn't required to be athletic in any way, shape, or form until I joined the Army at the wise old age of 17 years old. As I joined the military, I continued to seek out roles of increased responsibility, academic and physical veracity, and it eventually led me to joining the Special Forces. And when that happened, because I had no real background in conditioning or strength and conditioning or performing as a high-level athlete, which, you know, a lot of members of the special operations community essentially are, you know, typically speaking, have to develop a physicality that's very close to that of a professional athlete in some cases. So, you know, I really was forced to kind of seek out training on my own. And, you know, this was in the early 2000s, around 2004, 2005 is when I went to selection and then started attending the Special Forces qualification course. And of course, leading up to that, you know, I was imbued with the responsibility personally to try and work on my own fitness. And this was before there was a lot of online resources. This was before, you know, there was a CrossFit gym or a functional fitness facility or access to personal training on every street corner like we see now, which of course is a great thing, right? Like, you know, if we can have a McDonald's on every street corner, then why should we not have access to personal trainers, fitness facilities, nutrition coaches also on every street corner? Anybody that thinks that the market is currently flooded has never walked through the bread aisle in a grocery store. So, you know, as I became more interested in developing my own physicality, I went to my first CrossFit Level 1 seminar in 2008, started coaching groups and individuals through a club affiliate, and then, you know, took on roles as head coaches at various fitness facilities, whether it was CrossFit gyms or, typically speaking, fitness organizations, facilities, and clubs on military organizations and posts that I was currently serving at while I was still on active duty, and continued to seek that out throughout the entirety of my military career until I retired in 2016, and then came back home to Tampa, Florida, where I now have owned a CrossFit gym for 5 years, and I'm actually getting ready to open up my second here in the summer of 2021 amidst, you know, the pandemic and shutdowns and stuff like this. And I was also able to pursue an undergraduate degree in exercise science when I was at the University of Tampa, along with my bachelor's of arts. So, you know, I've spent a lot of time just kind of seeking out, personal and professional education as it pertains to exercise, health, wellness, more so because I was personally enthusiastic. But of course, as I opened up my own fitness facility and grew as a trainer, my focus as it pertains to health and wellness is less about performance now. It still is for me personally in a lot of ways, but now I see fitness and I see trainers, I see fitness facilities as a lifeboat and a sea of chronic disease. The top 5 killers of Americans are things like, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, pulmonary dysfunction disorders, myocardial infarction, like all these things that are 100% treatable through avoiding sedentary lifestyles and having a lifestyle-based nutrition regime that kind of steers you away from sugars, processed foods, tobacco, and alcohol, and more towards whole foods and these kind of things. Very simple solutions, but unfortunately, they're not super sexy, so it just hasn't caught on yet. But that being said, I think as a society, we've only really started to scratch the surface on what we're able to accomplish with functional fitness and nutrition. And I think you'll see in the next, 10, 15, 20 years that it's going to be an ingrained part of our society. Everybody is going to have some type of nutrition regime. Everybody is going to have some type of fitness hobby that they pursue 3 to 5 times a week for about an hour a day. And my hope is that I can help put a jetpack on all those organizations that are helping all these individuals do that as we move into a more healthy future.
That's awesome. So on that note, like Cindy, I didn't know if you wanted to finish up what you were saying earlier. Okay, so this question I'm going to give to you, Ben, just based on what you just said. So say like we have probably all different levels of athletes on here who are either, have been doing this for years or just starting. What would be something simple that you would say, here's a couple things, start with that? Because I feel like if you start with something little and you just chop things off, it makes it better for the big picture. So what is your advice?
For me, I think, we're obviously living in a post-COVID environment. So for a lot of us, at least for the next 4 to 6 months, seeking out a fitness facility of some variety it might not be in the cards. Normally, I would tell you to go find a gym, go find a coach, right? But what I'll tell you now is, because that's not necessarily an option, what I think you should try and do is move for an hour a day, 3 to 5 times a week, right? And that movement doesn't necessarily need to be high intensity workouts. It doesn't need to be a 5-mile run, and it doesn't need to be heavy weightlifting. A good start is just to take, an hour of your day, 3 to 5 days out of the week, try and get outside, try and get around other human beings, right? Sunshine, and also like the ability to interact with other humans is steeply discounted or is we don't place as much value as we should on it. Of course, do your best to adhere to social distancing protocols and make sure that you're being safe in a COVID environment. But, I think if you get out there and move around for an hour, just 60 minutes, it can make a world of difference, whether it's, an hour-long walk, whether, you're meeting up with a friend and going for a light jog and then doing 100 burpees, 3 to 5 times a week for an hour, and I think whether you're a single parent or you have a very strenuous or demanding job, everybody can make time for that. Everybody can set aside an hour. And the reason I say everybody can is because I know that, I run a gym. I'm also the executive director for a large consumer product good company, and I'm a single dad. So if I can find an hour, I know that you guys can too. And I think that's a great start. And I would focus on the things that are most functional. And when I say functional, I mean things like the burpee, the deadlift, the box step up, the air squat, and then quick bipedal movement. I tell my mother, who's 69 years old, who trains at my gym all the time, the burpee is just your ability to get up from a laying down position. You ever seen that commercial, I've fallen and I can't get up? If you can do a burpee, then you will indeed be able to fall and get up. The same thing, a box step up is the equivalent of walking up a set of stairs. Okay, being able to perform an air squat means you can use the bathroom on your own. Being able to perform a deadlift means you can pick something up in your household without the assistance of anybody else. Or you being able to run means, generally speaking, you are not going to have issues walking to and from your car, from the grocery store, these kind of things. These are all the basic tenets of ambulatory movement that will keep you out of an assisted living facility. If you can do just those 5 things by themselves in perpetuity, as a result, you'll be able to live by yourself until the day you die, which I can tell you is a very valuable thing.
So true. I wanted to say, like, Cindy has created this calendar for all of us to work out from, and it's been really cool. And what you said today, Ben, like doing, what you can and everything to keep moving. Today, Cindy, your workout was the either pull-ups or if you had rows or whatever. So I did rows, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna crush 20 every minute on the minute. And I was like, whoa, well, maybe I'm not gonna crush 20 every minute on the minute. But I remember, like, hey, at least I'm moving and I'm doing it, so let me modify it. But Cindy, can you talk about that on how you created this program for us to follow through the 31 days, and how we can adjust and modify so we can see our growth?
Okay, can you guys hear me? All right. So I created the program to start with sort of like a baseline test, just something that you can measure progress against. You can't hear me.
It's breaking up. Maybe you can dial in on your phone instead.
All right. Can you move on, Ani?
I'll circle back.
Sure, yeah. Well, okay, so what I'm gonna do is, I see there's a couple of questions on here, and one of them is by Mary Crease, and I really like it. It said, why does CrossFit teach a kipping pull-up versus a strict pull-up? Since Cindy can't get in, Ben, can you answer that for us?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the basic tenets of CrossFit or the 3 tenets are constantly varied functional movements performed at high intensity, right? So when you perform standard movements, right, or movements without stress or without load, right? So when I say without stress or without load, walking is just essentially running outside of intensity, right? So if you go from a run to a walk, you're just at low intensity running, low intensity bipedal movement. Conversely, right, if you're at a squat, or if you're squatting or sitting down into a chair, you're squatting without the additional or the addition of a load, right? If you add weight to your back, now you are squatting under load. Adding additional stress, adding additional volume, adding additional intensity, right? So adding weight to a movement or adding intensity to a movement will challenge your body a little bit more, which in turn will force your body to adapt to that new movement, that new stress, that new intensity, right? So what I would tell you is, if you can't do dead hang pull-ups, you should probably not be attempting to do kipping pull-ups. But if you become so proficient at dead hang pull-ups, you can now add intensity to that same movement safely by adding a kip, right? And the kip also involves a violent opening of the hips, which of course is going to help develop more comprehensive fitness for your entire body, as opposed to just focusing on the shoulders and arms, right? And that's why the majority of gymnasts, right, that you see, or people that practice gymnastics as a hobby, all the way up to people that participate in the Olympics and essentially compete in competitive sport at a worldwide level, they all utilize the kipping pull-up as a means by which to execute complex gymnastic movements, right? Things like ring muscle ups, or, kind of pole vaults, tumbling, all this stuff requires movements that look very similar to kipping, or a violent opening of the hips, right? Or triple extension or violent opening of the hips. So I hope that kind of answers your question. But big thing to take away there, especially for people that might be sedentary or don't yet have, varied gymnastic ability, is you should first focus on being able to execute a strict pull-up before you add intensity or more complexity to that movement.
That sounds very cool. I am so surprised, because I always thought that the kipping pull-up was more of an easier pull-up. So you do that first and then you start working on stricts, but it's the other way around. Thank you.
Of course.
So there's one more on here by Bridget Burrell. Says, Coach Bun, I heard you speak early in the pandemic, and I remember you talking about your mom doing burpees, and fit people are harder to kill. It really shifted my perspective on functional fitness, that it isn't just about completion or being a fire breather, but it really is about the long haul and moving my body through life independently as I age. I really appreciate that perspective, so thank you.
Yeah, of course.
That I agree, Bridget, because I feel that way too. I'm moving into a new stage in my life where I'm like looking at the big picture versus like, can I win a race? My win is going to be being able to do burpees, so I'm harder to kill.
Yeah, and something that's important to know about that, right? I've heard this argument brought up very often, because we're in the midst of a pandemic, right? And COVID is particularly devastating for people that have comorbidity or are suffering from metabolic disease, pulmonary disorder, cardiac dysfunction, this kind of stuff. This is something that's really important to know. If you're currently sedentary and out of shape, starting to exercise right now will not save you from COVID. Do you understand that? That will not save you from COVID. This is something that you would have had to have worked on for the past 3 to 5 years to ensure that you do not currently have comorbidity or a metabolic dysfunction of some variety. That is what is going to save you from things like COVID, or from things like type 2 diabetes, or from things like pulmonary dysfunction as a result of morbid obesity. That being said, that's the bad news, right? That's the bad news, is that, hey, if I start exercising today, it will not help me right now. But the good news is the best time to plant a tree, right, was 10 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is right now. You know what I'm saying? Right this second. So just because it is not going to help you right this second, that does not mean we will have similar issues in the next 2 to 3 to 5 years. Being able to start making decisions right now for your health is the best thing that you can do to protect yourself in the future. And that's difficult because from an economist perspective, I can tell you, human beings have a very difficult time of predicting what the future is going to look like, whether it's financial, their own health, or even who's going to win the finale of The Bachelorette or The Bachelor or whatever, right? It's difficult for us to predict. But that being said, these are tried, tested, and true methods. We know that individuals that are not sedentary, we know that individuals that exercise 3 to 5 times a week for 20 minutes or more are going to be infinitely less likely to suffer from things like metabolic dysfunction, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, all these things that are taking out Americans, wholesale. So, like I said, the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago, but the second best time is right now. It's today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Cindy, are you able to jump on at all? Is it still messed up? Okay, no worries. Okay, we have about 9 more minutes. I have 2 really quick questions, but I also wanted to let you all know that we did a drawing for all those that are on this call today. So Valor Fitness is donating a wall ball and some workout bands to 2 lucky winners on this call today. So thank you for being here. And I want to tell you who they are before we go. But here are the 2 questions. So Ben, these are on you. If you could buy one piece of equipment, fit a home gym, what would that be? Excuse me.
Oof, that is such a great question. If it was just one, I can only pick one piece of equipment. Goodness gracious, I would pick a moderately sized kettlebell. It's an extremely versatile piece of equipment. It can be used for swings, presses, pulls, all these different kind of things. And I will tell you, in a pinch, a dumbbell operates the exact same way as a kettlebell, although it might not be as easy or fun to move, nor does it look as sexy, but I can tell you it operates in exactly the same way as a kettlebell. So I think a good kettlebell or dumbbell that's between 15 to 35 pounds for most adult humans, it'll keep you busy for a year. If I was in prison and I only had access to that one thing, I would ask for a 35-pound kettlebell, and I'd promise the guards that I wouldn't beat anybody to death with it.
That's awesome. That was my very first piece of equipment. You can use it for so many things. And then we have, Bridget has another question. She said, any tips for keeping my 15-year-old son and 18-year-old daughter active at home? My son is on the wrestling team virtually. We have some equipment at home, but any tips on motivating them while they are mostly isolated would be helpful.
Yes, coordinate with other individuals that are on the wrestling team and see if you can organize group workouts 2 to 3 times a week with less than like 5 or less people, all of which have had recent and valid COVID-19 tests, right? The biggest way for both adults and young people to be held accountable, and when it comes to physical fitness and continued physical development, is through accountability, whether it be through coaches, friends, family members, teammates, or just other regular ass humans out there in the world, right? You know, you can still adhere to social distancing guidelines. You can still be absolutely safe, but your best bet is to coordinate with other parents and other athletes on your children's teams to see if you can't put together some safe training environments 1 to 2 times a week, or whatever you currently feel comfortable with. If for whatever reason you do not feel comfortable getting together with other groups and individuals, and you don't have the infrastructure in place to ensure that you can do so safely, your second best bet is to find an online training program that's new and unique, right? Because young people, and really adults all the same, have pretty short attention spans. So you got to keep things kind of new, interesting, and exciting if you want to kind of captivate their attention and ensure that they're sticking to any type of physical exercise or some type of regime that involves regular physical training. But I will tell you, a big thing when it comes to just maintaining a physical fitness program is just its accountability. And the best way to ensure that you're maintaining accountability is by having other individuals involved. And it's also just like community, right? Like it's an important part of the or it's an important ingredient to just general health and wellness. So if you're able to establish community, whether it's just 2 to 3 people meeting once or twice a week, I think that's a tremendous game changer in terms of ensuring that you're holding your kids and yourselves accountable.
Thank you very much. I think Cindy's audio is working. So I wanted to pose this question to you, Cindy. Can you speak, this is an ask from Jose Flores. Can you speak a moment about TRX bands?
TRX suspension systems?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be actually my #1 piece of equipment, TRX suspension equipment or resistance bands, because the possibilities are endless, and you start with body weight and you can make it easier or harder depending on your angles. And I think it really teaches core strength, which is so important to move forward with fitness as well. Jose, did you have a specific question about them? Okay.
I think TRX bands are great. Like Cindy said, whatever level you are there, it is a workout. And so I know there are veterans in my chapter who have some disability issues, and they use the bands, and they can do things like upper body, where maybe they have mobility issues with their legs that they just rave about. So I'm a big supporter of TRX too. So let's see here. There is a question, and actually we've got about 4 minutes left. So let me announce this. If there's any questions that we missed, I'm so sorry. Join us next week. We will have Elliot Canones. He's an Army veteran, owner and operator of Live Ready Fitness in Phoenix City, Alabama. He'll be on here next week, and then Ben will be on the following week. So keep joining us. I'm sorry we missed your question if we did. But anyway, so we did a quick drawing of those that are on here, and Valerie is one winner. Valerie Yvonne Rell is one winner. So you win a wall ball or bands. We'll find out which one's going to be sent to you. The second winner is Jeremy. Same thing, you're gonna get one of the wall balls or bands. So thank you so much for joining. So I've got like 3 minutes left, so I'll go ahead and pose this last question here. This one is about boot camps. This is from Bree Johnson. She started boot camp gym back in June, was ready to step out of her comfort zone and try CrossFit a few weeks ago. And she's stationed at MacDill Air Force Base. And due to COVID, are you, and I think she's asking Ben, but Cindy, you're also at a CrossFit gym too. You coach at a CrossFit gym. Are you guys accepting or allowing new people to try your gyms?
The gym I go to right now, they are still accepting memberships. They have different COVID precautions in place. So Ben can speak directly to what his gym is offering as well.
Yeah, we're absolutely still offering new memberships and still allowing new members to join the gym. And, you know, we have a significant amount of offerings at the organization to ensure that people can participate in daily fitness, regardless of whatever their comfort level is with the current environment, to include remote programming, personal training sessions, specialty programming, nutrition counseling and nutrition coaching, and then of course just regular old group classes. And of course, you know, my gym and all the other gyms in the area, you know, for the most part, adhere to all guidance that's been disseminated both from municipal, state, and federal authorities regarding risk mitigation measures for COVID-19. You know, so we've at this point, you know, I think we're about, you know, 8-9 months deep at this point. So we're pretty familiar with it. We have a ton of systems in place to help combat some of those additional risks that exist for the spread of COVID, despite the fact that, you know, we're witnessing probably a new surge in cases across the United States. But we absolutely are still taking on new clients, and then it, you know, depending on who you are, where you're coming from, what your demographic is, what your profession is, our coaches are going to be essentially good emissaries not only to, you know, the gym but also to your personal health. And if, you know, we think it's if our recommendation is for you to kind of hang loose and still train at home for the time being, trust me, we'll be honest and tell you that when and if you decide to drop in.
That's awesome. Thank you, Ben and Cindy, so very much. Valerie, if you and Jeremy will stay on while everybody goes off the call, we'll let everybody go. Thank you for being here. Great call, great conversation. I feel like I've learned so much myself. And keep on with your eagle fire and keep taking flight. Thank you, guys.